Now I'm going to teach you how to center. Centering is really a mental exercise, not a physical one. Now, the first thing to do is figure out what it is that you're going to throw. If I were to throw a cylinder, then I would make my clay start off with a higher form. If I were going to throw a plate, I'd pound this down and start off with a lower form. If I were to throw a bowl, I'd make it round and start off with a medium-sized ball. So you're already starting to get your piece shaped just by the centering. I'm going to center as if I'm going to throw a ball. First thing I do, dry hands and a very slow wheel, is I slap this piece of clay centered on my wheel. Why use more energy? I'm about using less energy. So what I like to do is center it through slapping first. So the wheel goes, and I keep my elbows into my torso, and I just slap my hands, and I slap it so that it gets fairly centered. Now, let me tell you my mental tricks for centering. I've been teaching centering, I've been teaching pottery for almost 40 years, and this really works. Think about this. The clay is a wild lion. Your hands are a cage at a zoo. You want to hold that lion in. Now that lion, you've seen a lion in a cage. Think about it. Remember, this is a mental exercise. That lion wants out. So if you have a cage, the lion is going to walk around the perimeter of the cage, stalking that cage, going round and round and round, wanting to get out. What you want to do is create a cage, whether you're up here or down here, that's going to keep that lion in. Okay? Think about that. You've ever seen a ballerina work on the bar? Or, okay, you know, they have like a bar, and they hold the bar, and then they can do their positions. Well, you need the same thing. To get strength, where is your bar? If your hands are all over the place, where is the bar that's going to give you the strength and support to keep this cage steady? We don't want the cage doing this. We want the cage stable. Your torso. Your torso is like a ballerina bar. So put those elbows into your torso and hold tight. I put my arms on the splash pan and get yourself ready. I use a fair amount of water to center. First thing, hands equally apart. Squeeze in, hold tight, the cage, come up. And notice that I'm working with a sponge. It gives me an easy going sense of water. Okay, pinkies. I call these the pinkies. Those are the bottom two fingers. I will refer to them as that. You need to have them pushed in. This part of the clay, this first inch, is the most crucial. If that's not centered, no matter what you do to the top, your piece is not going to be centered. So let's get that first inch centered. So working down there, press in, press in. Good, I've got the beginnings of my cage. Now I'm going to go down. You could go down many ways. You can go down like this, as I do. My left hand, now I'm a righty, my left hand holding the wheel, the piece of clay rather, and my right hand going over. Some people go down with both hands. Actually, I do both, depending upon the size of the clay ball. And that's the other thing. Centering this size is different than when I center a big piece, or if I'm centering a small piece, let's say off the hump. So right now, I'm going to make a medium-sized bowl, maybe 5 inches tall by 6 inches wide. Not a very big piece. So the centering that I'm doing is for a medium-sized bowl. Since I am gearing this exercise for beginners, that's a fairly good sized piece for you to start learning how to work with. Okay, let's resume our centering. Water. Okay, create that cage. Now move up the sides of the wheel of the clay, come up slowly, and when you're coming up, you take your thumbs and you press down at the same time. So you're compressing in, you're coming up, and you're compressing down. Everything you're doing is about getting a smaller and smaller and smaller cage. All right, now I'm going to go down. And here I go down, creating like a mushroom. Now, it looks like I'm not doing any energy, but let me tell you, this left hand is really strong. It's holding into my torso, it's pushing down. Once I get this nice mushroom created, let's mushroom over. So mushroom over and throw down. Okay, now again, let's get this first inch. Press in tight with your pinkies. Hold still. Do not let that lion move those hands. Those hands are so strong. I'm just about centered, but I'm going to come up again. Just to review the process. Come up, compressing the thumbs down. Don't go in like this. Go down. Pressing down at the same time. Okay, I'm going to mushroom over. Just a little bit of water, mushroom over, and then finally mushroom down. Get your pinkies in on the bottom. Come clean up your piece, and you should be centered. Now, how do you know you're centered? Centering means that when the wheel is spinning and you've got a mass of clay, it's running freely, that if you put your hands around it, it'll touch every part of your hands 360 degrees. So a good way to test it is to take a pin tool and hold your hand here and see if it actually touches it. You see how I have a little bump, 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 bump. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just not perfectly centered. And down here, it's a little bit better centered, which I was more concerned with down there. So I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to go up, increase the speed of my wheel, add a little bit more water, mushroom down, continue mushrooming down, holding my fingers so tight. These fingers now, the fingers of mushroom down, hold them tight, clean up my bat, get the clay down, and your piece should look like an upside down hat or an upside down bowl. My piece is now centered. I can use my fingers instead of the pin tool, and I can see that it's moving freely in all places on the pot. So if you have to go up and down several times to achieve this, then do it. However, be careful. If you go up and down too many times, you're going to put so much water into your piece, it's going to exhaust the clay, and it's not going to throw well. So this is what I suggest. Learning how to wedge, stay at the wedging board and wedge, 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 wedge. Then wedge many pieces of clay until you get the movement, the rhythm. Then when you get to the wheel and you're centering, center, center, throw it off, do another piece. Center 4, 5, 6 pieces at a time until you're starting to get centering. Don't move ahead. Don't move ahead to opening up and trying to make a bowl. If you don't have a piece centered, you're never going to get there. Centering is step 1 in making a pot and the most important step. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you had a great time learning how to wedge your clay and start centering. Next we will begin making a bowl on the next video. See you again.